It begins with a dinner invitation. Nothing ceremonial, no sense of importance. Just a familiar message exchanged between people who know each other well enough to stop performing. A group of friends gathers in a modest house, tucked into a quiet neighborhood. The kind of place where the lights are warm, the music is low, and the evening feels safely predictable. These are educated, articulate adults comfortable in their relationships, confident in their routines. They have history together, shared jokes, old resentments that have learned how to sit politely at the table. The world outside feels distant, contained. Inside, the night unfolds the way it always has. Casual conversation, wine poured without measuring, small disagreements that never quite become arguments. It is the comfort of familiarity's a sense that nothing truly unexpected can happen here, and that assumption is the first mistake. Among them is a woman still learning how to exist in her own life. She smiles easily, listens carefully, and speaks with restraint. There is a practiced calm about her, someone who has learned how to adapt rather than insist. She is intelligent, observant, but also uncertain, not lost exactly, just slightly displaced, as though her life settled one step away from where it was supposed to land. Around her, others appear more resolved, careers defined, relationships labeled, identities spoken aloud with confidence. Yet beneath that surface certainty, there is something else. Quiet dissatisfaction, unspoken comparisons, the subtle fear that different choices might have led to better lives. No one says this directly. They never do. The tension is not between people, it lives inside them. A low-grade unease that hums beneath the conversation, unnoticed because it has always been there. The interruption arrives without drama. A sudden power outage. The lights flicker, then disappear. The music cuts mid-note. Phones glow instinctively in the darkness, small islands of certainty in an unfamiliar silence. It should be minor, an inconvenience, something to laugh about while candles are found. But then someone notices a house nearby identical in shape, identical in placement, still lit. A mirror, standing comfortably across the street. The idea is strange enough to linger. Not frightening, just off, as though reality has misaligned by a fraction of a degree. Curiosity replaces comfort. A decision is reasonable, casual to walk over and ask what's happening. Choices like this never feel dangerous at the time. That's what makes them dangerous. When they return, something is wrong. Not visibly, not immediately. But the room feels altered. Familiar objects seem subtly displaced. Conversations hesitate where they shouldn't. A sense of duplication hangs in the air, unspoken but unmistakable. Then the realization forms slowly, reluctantly. There are others, not strangers. Versions. People who look the same, sound the same, remember the same stories, but not in the same order, not with the same emotional weight. The world has fractured not violently, but politely. Reality hasn't collapsed. It has multiplied, and suddenly, identity is no longer stable. At first, the idea feels abstract, almost academic. These are intelligent people. They try to reason their way through it. Hypotheses are formed, diagrams sketched. Language is used as a shield against fear, but abstraction fails when faced with the self, because somewhere out there is another version who made slightly different choices. Someone who said yes instead of no, stayed instead of leaving, spoke instead of remaining silent, and the question surfaces, quietly but relentlessly. Which version deserves to survive? Competition doesn't announce itself either. It seeps in. Voices harden, trust thin. Every decision becomes weighted with consequence. Every glance carries calculation. The woman who once adapted now watches more carefully. She notices how easily morality bends when survival is implied. How quickly empathy becomes conditional. The others are changing too, not into villains, but into something more unsettling. Reasonable people doing questionable things for understandable reasons. Fear doesn't distort them. It clarifies them. By the end, the house is quieter. Not peaceful, emptier. What remains is not triumph or defeat, but a hollow sense of continuation. Life goes on. It always does. The world appears intact, unbroken, perfectly ordinary. Yet something fundamental has shifted. Because once you realize there are countless versions of yourself, each shaped by a single decision, you can never again believe that your life was inevitable. You are here not because it was meant to be this way, but because this is the version that survived. And that knowledge doesn't fade. It waits, silently, whenever you make your next choice.